Ladies and gentlemen, could you please put your hands together for our guest, globally well-known commodity guru, Jim Rogers. Jim, welcome.
Hello.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon once again. Jim, I must tell you that Indians are absolutely in love with cricket, and the session before this was with two young upcoming cricketers. But after cricket, if there's one love that Indians have, perhaps equally, is gold. And ladies and gentlemen, Jim Rogers is known as the gold guru all over the world, and not just gold. Silver also fascinates him. So it's great to have you here at the India Today Conclave, and we are talking about India, and as you have described it, at a very sweet spot in history. So I want to begin by getting you to tell us your latest views on India. You've been an India watcher for several decades. How is India looking to you at this point of time?
Wow. That's a complicated question. First, I want to say to everybody here, because I tell many people in the world, that if you can only visit one country in your life, the country to visit is India. Well, this is very serious because I've been to many countries. There's no country like India with man-made and natural sites, food, languages, religions, everything. It is an absolutely astonishing country. For those of you who have not seen the whole world, I will tell you, I tell everybody in the world, if there's only one country, it should be India. So you are at the right place at the right time, and I have often been skeptical of the government in India, but for the first time in my life, I'm beginning to think maybe they're getting it right now, and maybe things are going to change so that India is going to be even better in the future than it is now. So if Mr. Modi does what he says he's going to do, wow. India is going to be even more astonishing than it is now. Now, as far as you want to ask me about India?
No, well, that's a good start to the conversation, but let's get to ask you, are you currently invested in India? If you are, why? And if not, explain the reasons.
Well, I am not, I'm embarrassed to say. And the reason I'm not is the Indian stock market is now making all-time highs. Somebody's doing something right in India. But more important is many markets around the world, Japan, America, many markets are making all-time highs. And in my experience, when you have a lot of countries doing well at the same time, it usually means it's getting late. It's getting late in the day. And so I am watching. Now, it does not mean you should not buy because the market is making an all-time high. And I have certainly missed many markets because they make all-time highs. But at the moment, I am not investing in India because everything is going right. You're doing a good job.
Jim, you've been investing across the globe and across asset classes, and chiefly in commodities, mainly in gold. Gold is also at a record high. Where do you think it is headed from now on, and are you buying it these days?
Well, gold is at an all-time high. If I were, and I own gold, I own a fair amount of gold, and I have for many years. Everybody should own some gold, no matter what. But I also own silver. Silver is down 50% from its all-time high, and gold is at an all-time high. I own both, and if I were buying today, I would buy silver.
Do you have
Okay.
something on you?
Are you gifting that to
No,
us?
no, this is just
Okay, no.
just for
It's the
demonstration.
Indian magic trick. It's gone. Can you see
This is
it? Well,
just-
I can show you. This is a panda and a cub and a silver coin of 30 ounce, Jim.
This is just for demonstration.
No, we'll keep it till the show.
We were thinking this
But
was
what
a
about gold?
999
Where is the gold?
Well, never mind. I have gold in my pocket. I have silver in my pocket for demonstration. I own both. If I were buying one today, I would buy silver. You know, I have learned a lot from India about gold and silver. You've been buying gold and silver for centuries. A lot of rich Indian women own a lot of gold and silver, as I have learned. So I own both, and I hope to buy more silver soon.
Okay. Jim, when you look at, you've yourself said you were an India skeptic, and you visited the country earlier as well. What do you think has changed between then and now?
Between then and now, when the first time I came to India, oh my gosh, this is a different country. Some of you may remember India a few decades ago. Nothing worked. The people in Delhi were not very excited if people made money. They did not want people to make money. They thought it was bad for people to make money. But now, for whatever reason, India has changed. If you go, in those days, a lot of Indians left India because they thought there were more opportunities outside of India and everywhere in the world. There were rich Indians, rich and successful Indians. But now, you have these great universities in India, and some of them are turning out extraordinary engineers. So a main difference now is there's a lot of entrepreneurship in India. There's a lot of, entrepreneurship and capitalism in India, and even more successful Indians now than in the past.
Jim, we have a chart right behind us, and this is gold price, 10 grams, and silver price per kilo. Indian prices between 2019 and 2024, we can see the increase in prices both for silver and gold. And Indians continue to have this appetite for gold, which despite the introduction of paper gold in India, the government wants to encourage that, still remains so high. But we also have something called Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is at all-time highs. Between gold and Bitcoin, what would you buy?
I have never bought Bitcoin. I have never sold short Bitcoin. I do have a lot of gold and silver, as you can see. In my view, cryptocurrencies apparently are good trading vehicles. I have never bought nor sold either. I expect them all to disappear someday. Many of them have already disappeared. If you're a good trader, do it. Do it. Get rich. But I have no confidence in the future.
Okay. Jim, everybody here would like to make a quick buck as far as markets are concerned. All of us want to get wealthy. You are wealthier than most of us here. I just wanted to understand, over the next 5 years, what should people do sitting in India to create supernormal wealth?
Well, your stock market is making all-time highs right now. You said for 5 years. I would not suggest that you own stocks for 5 years because nothing has ever lasted very long. If I were in India now looking for something for, I guess farmland. I guess agriculture in India would be a fantastic investment for the next 5 years. So if any of you know how to drive a tractor, go and become a farmer.
Well, become a farmer, that's a pretty radical suggestion.
Can you drive a tractor?
I haven't tried my hand at it.
See? nobody can drive a tractor. Go and become a farmer.
Okay, that's good advice. Shell, he's moving us away from the stock markets. Perhaps you're concerned with the froth or overvaluations because, like you said, the stock markets are at an all-time high. Gold is at an all-time high. Property is doing very well in India, rising constantly. Bitcoin is high. But the larger macro question is, are the markets, are asset classes across the board overvalued in India and the world? And does it concern you that a big crash could be coming soon?
Well, you just said it. Nearly everything you mentioned is at an all-time high. That's fabulous for everybody who's in the markets. But if everybody is making a lot of money, that usually is the time to get worried. I've been investing a long time all over the world, and when everybody is happy and singing and making money, you should start thinking about something else, and you should start thinking about something else.
Jim, you always look at buying depressed assets across the world. I think the only depressed asset in India at the moment are the opposition parties. Sadly, they're not listed, so we can't offer them to you. Look at it from another point of view. Why not buy high and sell higher?
Fabulous. Yes, you have just had good instructions if you know what you're doing and if you can do it. And there are people, and I have known people who are extremely good at buying high and selling higher. And if you're one of those people, hooray, hooray, I will buy you a beer later. But most people who buy high do not make money, even in India.
I want to turn the debate towards India and its position in the global order. Fifth largest economy on its way to grow at near 8%, 3 years of consecutive 7% growth. No other country, large economy in the world has had that kind of growth. But very clearly, if we have to go ahead, we have China and the world's investment, especially in manufacturing in China. In your reckoning, where does China and the Chinese economy stand at this point of time? And what can India do to sort of benefit from the strategy where people all across the world are de-risking their supply chains?
Well, you're correct. China is depressed right now. China had the virus, and China had a property bubble. China had one of the biggest property bubbles in world history. They tried to stop it, but they were not successful. Then the market stopped it. And the Chinese property market is a huge disaster right now, one of the biggest disasters ever. So China has the problem of two things, the virus, the COVID virus, and the property disaster. It is hitting bottom. It's going to take a while. After any country has a huge bubble like China had, it takes a while. You bump along the bottom for a while, several years sometimes. So I see that China's doing better or stopped doing worse, but I, anyway, would not be rushing to buy a lot of Chinese shares right now because they had a huge, huge bubble.
What we'll show you, ladies and gentlemen, is a graph of how our markets, the US markets, and in particular, the Chinese market has performed over the last 3 years, and they actually are absolutely in sync with what Jim has been talking about. You'll just see the graphic coming in front of you. The returns on the Nifty have been fantastic, followed by the US markets, and sadly, the Chinese markets are depressed, as Jim says. But Jim, for us, paint a picture. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if the FDI flows come in, if what Mr. Modi promises in terms of changes in the macroeconomy, in the laws, happen to take place, where do you see India from now, 10 years later?
Well, I will repeat, if Delhi does what it says what it's doing, and it makes the currency convertible, and it makes the markets investable by everybody. Wow, India is going to be spectacular. Much of the world maybe have a bear market in that time, but if India continues to open up, and if Delhi does what it says it's doing, it's going to help and encourage manufacturing. Why not? You have the largest population in the world. You have a lot of very smart people. Those universities in India turn out a lot of smart people. So if Delhi is supportive, and really supportive, now, India will be great. But see, I have a history. I remember, some of you might remember in 1990, the world was opening up. So Delhi said, we're going to open too. We're going to privatize, like everybody else in the world was doing. The communists were privatizing everybody. Delhi privatized one company, and it was a bakery. I mean, I said to myself, what is wrong with those? What's wrong with them? Why don't they privatize the whole economy like everybody else? Now, that has changed. This is not 1990 anymore. And as I said to you before, and I will say again, if Delhi really does what it says it's doing, wow, India's going to be a phenomenal country again.
I want to turn the attention back to the global situation. It's said that when the United States economy sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. What's your reading of the United States economy, particularly from the point of view that it's heading into elections? November will be the big US presidential election, and markets all over the world are concerned at the outcome. Would it mean continuous printing of more money, for example?
Well, I will tell you, you said people all over the world are concerned. I'm concerned. You should be concerned because, you know, one of the people who's running for president is over 80 years old. He's not very smart. The other person is nearly 80 years old. He's not very smart either. So I don't see that the next administration in the United States is going to be good for the world, nor good for the markets. I would suspect that the American stock market in the next 2 or 3 years is going to have problems, whichever one of them is elected. America is now the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. And the debt keeps going higher and higher every year. So, I mean, add it up. If you look out the window and you see staggering debt going up every day in a country that's run by people who are not very smart, I worry. I am worried.
Is that why you moved to Singapore, Jim?
No. I moved to Singapore because I wanted my children to speak Chinese. And we could not do it in New York. It's purely because I see the rise of China as being important in their lifetime.
Why just Mandarin? Why not Indian language? We have hundreds apart from English.
When my children were born 20 years ago, India did not have the prospects then that it does now, if you ask me. I will say to you what I've said again. India now may be on the verge of having an amazing sweet spot. If Delhi does what it says it's going to do, India is going to change for the better very, very dramatically.
So, Siddharth, and to everybody in the audience, Mr. Rogers was always known as a Chinese bull. And it's now only a matter of time that he'll turn into an Indian bull as well.
Well, maybe if I have more children, which is very unlikely, I will teach them Hindi.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are actually looking at the world's youngest trader.
Well, I will say the Indian women are the most beautiful in the world, so maybe I should have more children.
Okay, I want to ask you about what you can tell our audience about your best investment decision ever in your lifetime and the worst mistake that you have made as a professional investor.
Did you ask me about my best investments? Well, I will tell all of you that for many years I thought children were a horrible waste of time and money and energy. I felt sorry for people who had children. Oh my gosh, how could you be so foolish as to have children? I want you to know I was wrong. I was completely 100% wrong about children. I have 2 children now. Everybody here should go home and have children. Go home for lunch, you know. And if you have children, you should have girl children. Girls are better than boys. I know that in India you think boys are better, but they're not. Girls are better. So I hope everybody in this room will go home after this and have children. It will be good for India, good for you, and good for the world.
What about your best investment decision?
Well, that was my best investment. My worst investment, oh my gosh. Whew, I can tell you I have made many mistakes in my life. You want to hear about my first wife? Oh my gosh, what a horrible mistake that was. I guess my first wife was my worst mistake, and my children are my best success. If you meet my first wife, do not marry her.
Our final question, Jim, to you. Since you troll the bottom when it comes to buying quality assets at depressed prices, anything in the world at this moment that looks depressed to you? Anything in the world of assets that looks depressed to you?
As a good opportunity to buy anything in the world that is currently, according to your investment philosophy, at depressed prices and something that's ripe for the picking.
Well, I guess probably the best opportunities now are farmland somewhere. Probably now, one of the great opportunities is farmland in Ukraine or in Russia. I am not buying farmland in Russia or Ukraine. I'm an American. But I have learned in history that if you buy something during a war, after the war ends, you're probably going to make a lot of money. And both of those countries have some of the best agricultural farmland in the world. So probably right now, farmland in Ukraine or Russia, I cannot do it, I am not doing it, but that's probably the best. If you know about it, but you don't know how to drive a tractor. Okay. Not for you, not for you. But for those of you who are smart and can drive a tractor, buy a farm in Ukraine.
Well, you get me the land and I'll learn a tractor too. Jim Rogers, thank you very much for your time with us. A round of applause for one of the world's best investors of all time. Thank you very much for your time.